Hello and welcome to another one of our interviews. So today you're very welcome to a conversation that I have the privilege of having with my colleague, Dr. Barbara Doyle-Prestwich. And Barbara is the course coordinator and director of Biological Earth and Environmental Sciences, CK404. Am I correct, Barbara?
That's it. Thanks, Jean. Nice to talk to you. Yeah.
So what is CK404?
So CK404 is Biological Earth and Environmental Science. That's the entry stream in UCC. And when a student applies to this entry stream, they enter the school of, we call it BEES for short. So I might refer to it during the course of this interview as the School of BEES, so Biological Earth and Environmental Sciences. And when students come into this program, and typically we take in about 120 students every year, so as a first year comes into the program, they invariably take modules like maths, physics, chemistry, biology, geography, geology, earth science, and environmental science. And so, you know, as I coordinate the first year, as you say, and invariably when I ask that grouping on day one, how many people, say for instance, have never done biology before, about a third of the class raise their hand. So people come in without some of the key subjects that you might imagine. And so as a consequence, the first year is really given over to bringing everybody up to the same level, if you like. Okay, so what happens then after those kind of subjects in first year, at the end of year one, students get a choice. And at the moment, we have a choice of 9 exit degrees, if you like. So there's quite a big choice there. And the choice would include things like applied plant biology, earth science, ecology and environmental biology, environmental science, geography, run by the School of Geography, geology, international field geosciences, science education, the biology route only run by the School of Education, but you can exit CK404 out of that to get in there. And finally, the degree of zoology is also part of CK404. Now that sounds quite complicated, but basically during first year, what we like to think is that the students come in and they get a kind of a taster of all of these subjects. And so really, I know some students think when they come in that they know exactly what they want to do, but we find with students that once they've taken some of these modules, it really opens up their mind to many other degree offerings that they probably never even thought existed in some respects, like the traditional degrees, they know all about them. But you know, at Leaving Cert, the subjects they'll encounter in the first year in UCC, aside from maths, physics, or maths and chemistry and that, there'll be things that they will never have studied at second level. And so I would always say to the first years, you know, you might have a fixed notion when you start, but please do keep an open mind and, you know, follow your heart in many respects for these subjects. Yeah.
So then that's 9 options at the other end. So you would go through your 4-year degree, but after first year, presumably you hone in on specific subjects.
That's it.
Which will lead you to one of the 9 pathways.
That's it, exactly. And we've kind of, Jean, set up our first year to make sure that all of those degrees are well represented in various modules. So students will get a feel for whether they really do like a particular subject enough to kind of see it through the next 3 years. That's what it stands at the moment, yeah.
And what kind of research goes on in the School of Biological Earth and Environmental Sciences, BEES? I love the acronym.
Yeah, the acronym is great. And of course, we don't work on bees at all, but yeah, the acronym is great. But the research is fantastic. And can I say, like, we have world-class researchers in the School of Bees. Now, I know the next thing that I'm going to say won't resonate with kind of Leaving Cert students, but I'm going to say it anyway. I suppose a testament to the quality of the staff and the research is that currently the School of Bees holds 3 European Research Council awards. Now that's really unusual for one school to hold those awards. And of course, we hold many other prestigious grants. We bring in a lot of money from external sources to fund the research we're doing. So the research is as varied as the degree programs I've just been telling you about. All, without exception, all of our academic staff are research active, with many PhD students, master students, research assistants, and we have links with commercial companies. And if you were to look at a map of the world, and I think one of our previous heads did this, and essentially put a kind of a virtual pin in each of the countries where we're connected. We're connected all over the globe. And I'll come back to why that's important for students in a moment. But for now, so we have research on, let me start with zoology, I suppose, from say seabirds, from parasites, looking at marine mammals, dolphins, sharks, etc. We had, you might have, well, early on in the week, RTE did some programs on some of the research that's going on in a place called Lochine down near Skibbereen, and some work there also was highlighted on jellyfish, for instance. Then from the plant science side of things, we look at climate mitigation. We have a big focus on trees at the moment and how they contribute to climate mitigation. And we've just released a short video called the Arboretum Monologues, which looks at how drugs can be taken from some of the trees. So next time you walk past a tree, Jean, don't just look at it and say, oh, there's a beautiful tree. Think about the biological significance of that tree. And one of the things that I talked about in that video was how some of the main anti-cancer agents come directly from plants. So we're interested in all those kind of things. Environmental monitoring, and on it goes. A fantastic array of research activities to match the disciplines and the academic staff that are present in the school. Could I just mention why that network is so important? When I talked about our connections with, say, different research units and companies around the world, I always say to the first years when they come into UCC, because this won't be obvious to them, I think that for every academic staff member they meet, there's a huge network of connections around the world, and students should try and use that and exploit that network through the academic staff member, because for all of the summers that the students have to go working and maybe earn a bit of money, but I always say try and combine the earning capacity with a bit of experience that will enhance their CV. So we've had students who will combine their money, their earning capacity in the summers, to doing research that will actually contribute to what they want to do towards the end, their ultimate goal in their career. So for instance, if I just mention my own area for the minute, over the years, I've had a research project that spanned about, I think it was 6 different European countries and 3 Latin American countries. So I had great research connections in Ecuador, Bolivia, and in Peru, and then all across Europe as well. So for all of those people I know and met on regular occasions, they would all be potentially looking for research assistants or even, summer activities and things like that. So it's a good starting point to talk to the academic staff in the unit that you're in, and combine your interests with their opportunities that they can create and help you create as part of even your work placement or your work experience abroad as well.
And that's a key point, because you're talking about work ready and world ready graduates. Yeah. UCC priding ourselves on work ready and world ready graduates. So that enormous network of connectivity through the biological world and the world of human beings globally. Yeah. When a student is going through and they are associated with you, or you're teaching them or whatever, and they're expressing an interest in going somewhere or being placed somewhere, how does that work? Do you have a program which literally sets them up, or do they have to find their own way using the contacts that you'd help them with?
Yeah, so we've had over the years, Jean, we've had a bit of both. So students will come and say that they've explored, maybe through just opportunities that have been advertised in various media types, but they'll come to us and present an opportunity. But we have a work placement program within the School of Bees. So there's a coordinator that manages that and will liaise with potential companies and universities around the world. And actually some of the places that our students have gone, so I'm just thinking off the top of my head, we had Ecuador, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. So really there's no kind of limitation as to where the students can go for their work placement. We have to ensure that where they're going, we know where they're going and who their contact will be when they get there and the type of work that's envisaged. And as part of the work program, which usually takes between, say, 3 and 6 weeks, they'll have an academic mentor in UCC, an academic or a mentor in industry where they're going, and they'll write up a report and they'll do a presentation and they'll keep a notebook. But really, it's an invaluable opportunity for our students to liaise in, I hate the word the real world, but I know people recognize it as maybe the real world outside of, say, their academic studies. The other thing, Jean, I want to say in terms of the work placement, so yes, we have a formal work placement module, but in addition, and one of the things I suppose that sets the School of Bees apart maybe from other schools in the university as well, given the nature of our programs, is that we offer training rather in innovative technologies at both the lab level and also in the field. And this is the critical thing for our students, where the main focus is on sustainability. So for instance, right from first year up to the final year degree, we run these residential field trips. So let me just give you an idea of some of the field trips we go on, and I'll link it back into work placement in a minute. But the places that are of scientific interest where we take our students, so we take them on places all over Ireland for starters. So, and one of the big highlights in first year is a trip to the Giant's Causeway, and it's the geology section that run this, so Giant's Causeway in Antrim, down as far as Kerry. And then in Europe, from Scotland, the Dorset coast in England, we go to London, we go to the Kew Gardens, the Millennium Seed Bank, we visit various multinationals, small plant breeding companies as well. We go to Greece, to the Algarve in Portugal, and to Holland. So all through, if I was to map the degree programme in terms of visits, it's just fantastic, the array of sites that the students, and like this camaraderie that's developed as part of the student is just, even aside from the academic kind of knowledge that they gain. And just the final thing on that in relation to the placement, Jean, I'll say, is that these kind of overseas activities, and even within Ireland, again, they offer a great outlet for students to meet companies, to meet prospective employers. And we've had, say, over the years, so for Kew Gardens in London, we've had students who've gone back for summer placement in Kew Gardens. One of the multinationals that we visited there outside London as well is Syngenta. You've probably heard of the multinational Syngenta, but Syngenta have taken on one of our graduates, and that was really through initially a casual conversation as part of this residential field trip. You know, so everything we do like that, we're kind of very student focused in helping them for the next stage of their career. Just out the road, not too far from UCC, out in Little Island, I don't know if you're aware, but there's a processing company called Cara Partners. And every year for over a decade, I was able to take the students from one of my modules to visit Cara Partners, where they talked us through the process of isolating a particular active ingredient from a plant, and then putting it into big drums for powder, drying it down, and sending it off to the continent to be tableted. And there we saw from start to finish how the process works, and then how this drug from a plant is used in real life scenarios. And we, Owen and myself, got money through the UCC Green Campus, the Living Lab project. We're all about sustainability. And this word sustainability permeates all of our lives, whether we're doing, I don't know, modern Irish, it doesn't matter. It's all about sustainability. And like I say, we pride ourselves in our degrees that we're creating graduates who are work ready when it comes to all of the opportunities we're offering. And actually just today, we had a meeting about the Sustainable Development Goals, which, as we know now, permeate everything we do in the university. And this is trickling down from, say, Horizon Europe, which starts on January the 1st, another big source of money for all the researchers across the university as well. And we have to be able to relate our research, and as a consequence then our teaching for the next generation of researchers, to the Sustainable Development Goals. So to solve issues like food security, water quality, education, poverty. And so we want to make sure that our graduates have sustainability literacy, for want of a better term, when they go out into the world. And I was talking to, I think it was a Dairy Gold up the country there a while back, and they've just now taken on a full-time sustainability officer. And we see from all of the big companies, both in Ireland and across the globe. And so our graduates will really slot nicely into all of this area as well.
Yeah. An interesting Sustainable Development Goal number 17 of the 17 goals is partnerships for the goals.
Yeah.
So it brings right back to the connectivity that you were talking about earlier. Yeah. So the student is going through, we're talking about employability skills just for the next part of our discussion. And it's very clear, based on what you're saying, relating to traveling around with you and visiting different places and so on, they're acquiring skills of communication, skills of resilience, skills of adaptability. So do you bring the graduate attributes program, for example, that we do in UCC into the undergraduate training?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As part of the graduate attributes, and they've done a fantastic job in just the last few years. So amongst the graduate attributes, we have, say, an emphasis on the creators and evaluators and communicators of knowledge. And that's a big part of say, the generic training from the B's perspective. And I've often said to the students, like, these kind of transferable skills, these generic transferable skills means that, your end result for employment doesn't have to be necessarily in what you might perceive to be what a standard plant biologist might do, or a zoologist, or a geoscientist, or an environmental scientist, that you're trained in such a way, and all of these other kind of attributes allow for you to segue into other careers, if you like. So amongst those other attributes would be independent and creative thinkers, and we value that hugely. And in the final year of all our degrees, we have this final year research project. So the students invariably take about 6 months, and they're allocated to one member of academic staff who they work closely with, and they work with the technical officers in the school and other research assistants, or they might join a group that has postdoctoral researchers or PhDs, and they get hands-on training. But in addition to the hands-on training, they're encouraged to think independently. So to read the literature, to design their experiments, to carry out the experiments, to collect the data, to analyze the data, and relate their findings to what the findings in the literature are. And to all of that, you know, we provide then graduates that are able to think for themselves, are able to work independently. And we were just having this conversation with some students earlier, but that have a great sense of self-reliance. They're confident in doing all of these things. And of course, digital fluency is huge for all of us these days. And I come back to what I mentioned earlier in terms of sustainability. So we're talking about graduates who have this massive social responsibility. And I think we're just building on what the students, what they are already, and how they think. And we attract students into the School of Bees who very much have sustainability at the core of what they do. And they really love what they do. We have amongst our students population effective, what I would call global citizens, who recognize things like inequality, and will stand up and be a big part of the solution, which is really fantastic.
It's obviously listening to the student voice.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing. You're listening to the student. What does the student want, as opposed to what do we think the student wants?
Yeah, no, we're very much part of that kind of way of doing things, Gina. We have a very interactive kind of school where the students know they are a major stakeholder within the school. Oh no, that's absolutely a given. And again, I come back to say the residential field trips, where this really comes to the fore, where you can talk to the students, and actually these field trips are usually, and the big ones are usually in third year, and it's prior to them picking their final year independent study. So they get to know the staff on the field trip. And, we all pick people we want to work with as well for a number of different reasons. But really it gives them a chance to explore this type of research and really get to see whether this is something that really inspires them before they head into this independent study. So yeah, no, absolutely.
Do you invite employers in to deliver guest lectures, to be on advisory groups, that type of thing?
Yeah, so most definitely. So we're very well connected with industry, and actually we have what do we call it? We call it the Frontiers in Biology series for the biology, and they have the same type of thing in the geological sciences as well. So we bring in external speakers from companies and from universities around the world, and those sessions, they run actually all through the academic year, and the students can actually engage with these visitors from outside, from companies or from other universities. And again, it's all part of the networking opportunity. So in addition to the academic information, it's all to do with the networking for the next stage as well. So we have good interaction with companies. Yeah. It's just incredible. And actually, one thing I just want to draw, the people who might be watching this, I want to draw their attention to that. Again, I come back to say the careers route, and come back to the transferable skills, and where you'll all be digitally fluent, and all of the other attributes. But say amongst the kind of the careers that might spring to mind might be things like environmental consultancy, plant breeding, conservation, biodiversity, and various other consultancy groups. But I just made a list here of where our graduates have gone over the years, and I just want to draw your attention to this. Sure. Some of these may not be obvious. So for instance, we have people who have gone to work in Irish distillers. We have people who work in Facebook, environmental consultancy, as I've mentioned, various government agencies like the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine. Kerry Foods have taken on some of our graduates. RTE, some of our graduates have gone. One graduate has gone to RTE, who was on television recently. Sustainable Energy Ireland, the Marine Institute, the National Parks and Wildlife Service, journalism. So a few of our graduates, and this comes back to the training that our graduates get in just writing skills as well and communication skills. Those are all a critical component of the training that we offer these students, because as you know, Jean, communication is everything in today's world. It's not enough just to go in and do whatever job you're doing, but for us scientists especially, you have to be able to communicate the findings. And I don't just mean in books and articles, and as wonderful as that is, and all the rest, but we have to be able to verbally communicate and get a message across. And there are various traits, as you know well, for getting a message across that don't just come from, say, a book kind of scenario. So we have, journalism, film production, we have graduates gone in there, communication officers for various companies, the pharmaceutical sector, local council, and everything in between. And of course, we have people who go into kind of standard teaching area as well. And of course, the higher degrees, and we offer a lot of those within the School of Bees. Yeah.
I just go back to something you said earlier, Barbara, and you mentioned about the 3 European research centres, and in fact the ERCs, as you say,
yes,
and they're actually really, really prestigious, and the university is exceptionally proud, and to have 3 in one school is really, really stellar.
It's incredible.
So, what are the areas of research in those in those European research centres? What are the general areas of research?
The general areas, so there's one in, I think it's looking at birds in particular, so probably seabirds and other birds as well. The other one is in fish, so it's in the marine environment and freshwater. And then the third one is in geosciences for those big 3. But remember, Jean, while those are fantastically prestigious, all members of the school, of the academic staff, are research active. Now, again, maybe for, say, Leaving Cert students who might be watching this, I'm not sure that will resonate as well with them at this stage as it will later on. But that's really important for students coming in to know that they're entering into a very research dynamic school, because that means all of the researchers have active research programs that you guys can join as you move through the system. And particularly, I refer you back to maybe the work placement, which is part of obviously connections from the research. And then also when you do your final year research project, you can pick projects and you'll be joining research active teams. These are not projects that are made up just to get you through 6 months. You'll be doing real cutting edge research where you can actually contribute. And just on that note, Jean, I'm reminded to say that over the years, some of our undergraduates have actually published papers from their undergraduate research projects, which is amazing. And one of the students that I had with Owen a few years ago, so we ran this big international conference in the Convention Centre in Dublin, that was 2018. And that year, one of our undergraduates presented at the international meeting, which is fantastic because they got to meet all the big scientists from around the world, which is a fantastic opportunity, really. We've always prided ourselves, I know this goes, UCC is this type of university, but I think particularly in Bees, which is where I know most about, I suppose, but the staff really look after the students. So, it's like one big family. I know that sounds a bit kind of cringy to say, but really and truly, the students are really well looked after from first year to fourth year. And we get that fed back to us in various comments and questionnaires over the years. Every student is met on an individual basis with either the head of school and another person, or 2 members of staff, and that happens again at week 20. And the idea there is to make sure that if a student needs any type of intervention or help, that they get it as soon as the issue arises, and that students are not left floundering to discover in May that they have some kind of issue. So yeah, there are a lot of supports in place for those students.
I think it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Barbara, and I'm an admirer of the work that you do.
Yeah, and Jean, can I just say we have, sorry to put across here, we have an excellent website, the School of Bees. If you Google the School of Bees at UCC, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we have a Facebook jobs page as well. So I think, and now we're on Instagram as well. So I think we've captured all angles in terms of social media. And if after all that you still have questions, my email is b.doyle, Doyle, @ucc.ie. And as first year coordinator, I'll answer all the questions. Jean, it's been nice talking to you. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to b.doyle@ucc.ie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Employability and career development initiatives are delivered through curricular, co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Over 90% of our programs offer placements internationally and nationally. Throughout your time in UCC, you will have the opportunity to develop employability skills through entrepreneurship modules, skill sessions, and memberships of clubs, societies, becoming a class representative, and getting involved. Throughout your student journey, UCC Career Services will support your career planning with one-to-one career consultations and coaching. The Career Services collaborate with academic departments and other UCC units to deliver bespoke and standalone employability and career-related workshops and events for all students and recent graduates. Our annual recruitment fair is one of the largest national career fairs, featuring up to 100 top graduate employers. For more information about UCC employability initiatives and the Career Services, visit ucc.ie/careers.